Hello, good day. I think we are live. Welcome, everybody. Bit of an early live stream this month. That's because my birthday is coming up at the end of the month, and I'm taking a week to go on a little vacation, going to faraway land. Not too far away, but visiting a few friends who are in that area. So I'm not going to be live streaming at the end of the month, but you get me early. What's up, everybody? Good to see you here. Looks like we got a few viewers so far. Let people trickle in. Tell me where in the world you're watching from. I always like to see that. And yeah, feel free to start posting questions. Tell me your story, and we'll get started soon. Thanks for the happy birthday wishes. Appreciate it. Yeah, my birthday makes me a Scorpio. I don't know if that means much to you all. It's never meant all that much to me, not too into astrology, but means something to some people. Hey, everybody. Welcome. New Mexico. Actually, that's where I'm going. Coincidentally, that's where I'm going on my trip. So maybe we'll run into each other. If you see me in the street, say hello. United Kingdom, represented by Super Sunny. Welcome. Venezuela, very cool. Yeah, this, if you saw my last video that I uploaded to the channel, I've been doing a tech fast this month, which doesn't mean no tech at all, obviously, since I'm live streaming right now, but it means no frivolous or distraction use of tech. And that's something that I've battled with off and on, had a different relationship to throughout the years, and had some guidelines for myself that helped quite a bit. One thing that I was doing for quite a while was just not using tech for entertainment or distraction, at least until I finished everything I wanted to get done in that day. But I started to explore the gray area a little bit too much, having something playing or like watching short videos when I was still in my work day or trying to get other things done, having something on in the background, having a podcast on. And it was starting to, take away from my concentration, my productivity, my creativity, my peace of mind. I think that when we consume far more than we produce or create, it doesn't set us up very well to be the creative beings that so many of us, feel like we're meant to be. So this month, been just embracing the silence. There's been some uncomfortable moments of like where I would usually pull up YouTube and see what my favorite creators have been posting or whatever, and I just be like, nope, not doing that. So instead made different choices, and it's actually been really good for my peace of mind and my productivity. Yeah, I feel like I have more time. I feel like I am more present in my life, and I really like it. So things are going well, and I might continue after the month is over. I'll decide at the end of the month. Maybe I'll have a day to catch up on my favorite YouTubers, what they've been doing, that sort of thing. But I might continue this long term, or at least change some of my guidelines for how I use tech. I would like to take some time where I just like turn the phone off completely. No notifications, no calls, no texts, no looking at a screen whatsoever for a week at least. I got a friend who did that for a month this summer, and I was envious. Sounds like a great time. All right, let's get into the questions. Hey, man, quick question. I've given up on the Nofap movement for about 6 months. I feel that it has kept me from being in bad relationships and kept me focused on my goals, but it is a double-edged sword. Now I'm trying to reduce. So, okay, I'm not sure I totally understand. It sounds like you were trying to do Nofap, but it was making you desperate and getting into bad relationships. So you gave up on that, and you feel like giving up on Nofap has kept you focused on your goals. Now, maybe you can clarify for me. Now you're trying to reduce. Yeah, if you're not in, the right mindset or have the right plans and goals for yourself, and you just take away porn and masturbation, which you've relied on for emotional reasons probably for many years, then it can set you into a state of mind where you might make impulsive decisions and you might make life decisions or relationship decisions that you later end up regretting, maybe just because you're desperate for a fix or for a sexual outlet. So yeah, it's not to be taken lightly. You know, our sexual energy is a powerful part of us, and having the ability, the skills, the support to be able to decide how and when to express that and where to channel it is important on this journey. And if you just take away the porn and masturbation and see what happens, then you might not be happy with where you end up. I relapsed after 35 days. Please help me to control the high emotions during Nofap. Relapse is unfortunately a fairly common feature of recovery, as I'm sure many of you know from personal experience. Relapse, I want to clarify what that means, though, because a lot of people will apply that label of relapse to any incident that goes against what they've decided for themselves is the right path for them, which can help some people to stay on their straight and narrow, to be very strict with themselves. But the true definition of relapse is a return to a former state of being. And if you pull up a video for a few minutes, or you're watching something arousing on YouTube for a few minutes, but then you catch yourself and like, damn, I relapsed, I'm going to reset my counter. If that helps you to stay on your path that you've chosen for yourself, great. But the definition of relapse that I use, that would be more of a slip, something that you don't want to repeat, to be sure, something that you want to change how you're interacting with your device, or change your protections, or develop some new skills to cope with those emotions and those situations to avoid in the future, but not necessarily a return to how things used to be. And yeah, when we accept that definition of relapse, it allows us to be kinder to ourselves and to get better incrementally at living porn free, because it is a skill. You don't expect people to be masters at something the first time they try crocheting or playing basketball. It takes practice. It takes making mistakes. It takes failing, and then learning from those mistakes, being kind to yourself, saying, okay, yeah, I'm a beginner. Okay, I'm going to pick myself back up, dust myself off, and continue going forward, learning from that mistake. And when we just say, oh, I relapsed, and reset our counter perhaps, and feel like we're just stuck in the mud, spinning our wheels, and we're not embracing those failures and accepting them as part of the process, then it can keep us in the mud. It can keep us on the ground, down and out. So be kind to yourself, my friend, and find the right support for you in your life. That's the biggest factor that I've found makes a difference. That, finding the right support for yourself, and having that mindset of absolute commitment. No matter what it takes, I'm going to live porn free. That doesn't mean that I'm never going to relapse again, but it means that I'm going to be taking new action. I'm going to be courageous. I'm going to be pushing myself. I'm going to be going outside of my comfort zone to take actions that I've never taken before, so I can get results I've never gotten before. Those two things, if you have that mindset and the right support in your life, are going to empower you more than any other to move on to your next chapter and to leave pornography in your past. So, as for the right support, what does that mean? What does that mean to have the right support? Well, it means a variety of support in your life. If you're just trying to go this alone, maybe getting some anonymous feedback from people online in a text forum, that's going to be very difficult. Being here on this live stream, that's a step forward. You're asking me questions, you're getting me to respond personally to your story, but still, you're kind of separated from me. It's not like we have a real personal connection right now, because I can't hear your voice, I can't see your face. And you need people in your life that you can really talk to about this. And one way to do that, an easy way to do that, is with some sort of support group. There's a 12-step for porn addiction now, Porn Addicts Anonymous, so you can look them up. I also run a support and discussion group through our private Discord server, so you can check the links below in the description to learn more about that. We have several calls a week. We just had one this morning. Had a great call, deep conversation. Everyone who talked about where they were in life, what they were going through, where they were in their journey, giving each other support, advice, cheering each other on. And that's a great access for support because it's people that you know understand, are not going to be judgmental, and are going to be supportive. But is that in itself enough? No, I don't think it is. I think that we also need people in our personal lives who know us and interact with us regularly, who understand what we're going through. And they might not know exactly what we're going through because they haven't experienced it themselves, but everyone can understand hardship, can understand challenge, can understand disappointing yourself, can understand needing the support of others and the love and compassion of others. So if you don't have that in your life, it's not easy for any of us to have those conversations, to open up, to be vulnerable, to tell people, hey, I'm struggling with this. But the rewards are potentially great. So it's my advice for you. Happy birthday, Noah. Thank you, Henry. I'm nearly finished with your book. It's full of practical advice, powerful wisdom, authentic, honest communication, and much more. Thanks for all you're doing. My pleasure. Glad you like the book. Yeah, if any of you haven't read it, it's free. I make it available as a free PDF for anyone who signs up for my newsletter. Just check out my website. You'll see the link for that in the description below. Does semen retention itself, can that help me to get out from the flatline? It's 11 months without PMO, and I feel stuck on this flatline. So flatlines, yes. Long flatlines, I know. They suck. It doesn't feel like you're ever going to get your sexuality back. You feel like perhaps you have no energy. You feel flat. You feel perhaps depressed, maybe hopeless about ever seeing progress in this journey. Maybe you read other people's stories of, hey, I'm 30 days or 60 days porn free and I'm like a sexual dynamo now. I can enjoy great sex with my partner. And you wonder, well, why isn't that me? Why am I 11 months in and not feeling those benefits? And that's frustrating, I know. But you're not alone in that. Long flat lines, they do happen. There are certain things that we can do, perhaps to tweak what you are doing in order to help yourself get out of that flat line or heal during that flat line as much as possible. I'd have to talk with you to really pinpoint those things, but if you have been completely abstinent, hard mode, no masturbation, no rewiring, no any sort of sexual stimulation during these 11 months, and maybe you're waiting for that flat line to end before starting to date again, starting to expose yourself to those situations, one thing you can do is start to date, start to put yourself out there, start to, kiss and put yourself in those situations before you think you might be ready, because perhaps your body is sort of waiting for those sorts of situations to start to rewire to, and that can cue some people in long flat lines to start feeling their sexual energy again. I've seen it happen many times. It's not a guarantee. And I know you're probably scared to put yourself in those situations, not knowing that you're going to be able to trust your body to react and trust your sexuality to be there. But progress requires risk. And when you're willing to put yourself in those situations and risk, but knowing, what you're going to do and how you're going to respond if it doesn't work out the way you want, being able to talk to whoever you're with and open up and just, tell them the truth, or at least part of the truth, part of your truth, then you can be confident going into those situations, knowing that no matter what happens, no matter how your body responds, you can handle it. It's not going to kill you. And the more courage you have in stretching your comfort zone there and being humble and just accepting who you are and being who you are and moving forward into those situations, the more chances you'll have to see the progress that you're looking for. So that's one thing that you can tweak. On the other hand, if you've been continuing to masturbate or continuing to have sex during the flatline, during when you feel like you're in a flatline, then one thing you can tweak is doing the opposite, going on complete hard mode. Absolutely no sexual stimulation for a while, at least no direct penile stimulation. And that can give your body the chance to rest that it might need in order to start feeling like you're naturally coming out of that flatline. So you're asking, does semen retention itself help you get out of the flat line? Well, if you've been frequently orgasming, or even in moderation, but regularly orgasming and ejaculating, then that can be something to tweak, to help you get out of that flat line. Hey, Noah, how are you? I'm doing well, man. Yeah, it's been a good summer. I'm enjoying my life a lot. Feeling like I'm more physically fit than ever before. Got some new fitness expeditions, fitness routines that I've been doing. Been doing gymnastics, which I've always wanted to do, but for some reason put off. And now I found a gymnastics gym that I joined, and that's been a ton of fun and also really good exercise. And doing diving and swimming as well. Diving, super fun. If any of you are having trouble like developing an exercise routine that you can be consistent with, then find something that's super fun for you. That's my best piece of advice. Because when something is really fun, you don't have to use willpower to force yourself to go and do it. Hey Noah, how are you? I wanted to ask, is it normal for emotions to numb during flatline? And will they return gradually or instantly? I can enjoy music, but I don't feel deep emotions while listening. Yeah, during the flatline, some people can feel flat, not just in their sexuality, but in their emotional landscape as a whole. And during that time, you might be tempted to try to like force your feelings to come about. And I think that's often a mistake. Just live your life as best you can with however you feel right now and allow yourself that time and be patient with yourself. And I think you'll find at some point that your emotions are rising back to the surface and becoming more colorful. And it can come about fairly quickly in a surprising way. Maybe you tear up when you see a scene in a movie or something, and you feel like, oh, what's happening here? And you feel your emotions coming back to life. Or it can happen gradually where you realize, oh, actually, like for the past couple of weeks, I've been a lot more interested in my days, a lot more, engaged with the people in my life, and it might sneak up on you like that. But yeah, uh, I would say don't despair thinking that the way that you feel now is the way that you're always going to feel. There's a lot of tumultuous changes that happen in our brains and in our emotions as we leave behind pornography and compulsive sexuality. And getting to that new normal is something that everyone deserves the chance to see, deserves the chance to feel what a life can be like without that compulsive sexual behavior in their lives. Noah, some say that when one does Nofap, after a while they can build up that energy and transmute it up the spine in what they call kundalini. Say it starts at the lowest chakra, if you believe in that. Yeah, I won't say that I'm an expert in kundalini or a yogi or anything like that, but I have definitely felt personally the truth that sexual energy can be transmuted into other types of energy in your life. And I wouldn't say that it's, at least in my experience, it's not a 100% conversion, right? There's still going to be sexual energy that, is just about sex and feeling that desire to connect. But a lot of that energy, you can allow it to flow through you and rechannel it in a different direction in your life. It can push you to go out into the world, to try new things, to put yourself in social situations. You can channel it into a drive to better yourself, to learn, to grow, to build, to create. And I think that that's something a lot of people miss out on who grow up just feeling that sexual energy and immediately and impulsively looking for a way to expel it. And it can be uncomfortable in that transition period of learning how to just feel it, just accept it, and then rechannel it in a different direction. But like all the skills that you're building in this time and this journey, it gets easier over time as you get better at it. And the benefits, I think, are very worthwhile. After a long time of being mostly PMO free, dating apps combined with stress led to a shameful escalation to porn. How will I know when I'm ready to date without the risk of this happening again? So that's a great question. And you said it was a shameful escalation. And I encourage you, to take it seriously, yeah, to learn from it, but not to punish yourself too much for it. I know making the same mistakes time and time again can lead to you being angry with yourself, not understanding how you could go back and do that thing that you swore you'd never do again. But that is the battle that we're in. That's the nature of compulsion. And I encourage you to be kind to yourself but also take it seriously and learn from it. And that question about how do you know when you're ready to start dating? You know, I encourage people to get to a place of stability, but there is a balance point in there where some people can be putting off going out into the world and starting to date because they're afraid of it, but they're using the excuse of, well, I need to get to a better place with, my sobriety for pornography and masturbation addiction. And those people, on the surface, it seems like they're doing the wise thing. But if their true motivation is because of fear, because they're afraid of putting themselves out there and taking those risks and getting outside of their comfort zone, then they are cheating themselves out of the benefits of this process, of this growth period in their lives. So it's not so much about knowing when you're ready, and it's more about being mindful through the process of dating about how it's affecting you and your energy and your approach as you go into dating. If you're noticing that you're using apps in a compulsive way, or just getting a buzz off of scrolling through the photos or scrolling through the profiles, then maybe you're on the wrong kind of app, or your intentionality that you're bringing to it is wrong. One thing that you can do, a lot of those apps, if you pay for the premium service, they'll just tell you when someone likes you, when someone likes your profile, and then you can check out that person's profile and see if it's a possible connection and swipe right or left, or however you do it on that app, without necessarily just going through a bunch of profiles and seeing a bunch of pictures of attractive potential mates that can be triggering. And there are apps that are definitely better suited to fostering a real connection and a conversation, rather than just giving you that buzz of dopamine as you scroll through all these pictures and profiles. So might be the apps that you're choosing to use are the wrong ones for you at this point, or the intentionality that you bring to them could use some tweaking. Also, maybe apps just aren't for you, but there are other ways to meet people, even in the world that we're living in now. You can join different groups or classes that put you around people with similar interests who might vibe with, and you can certainly make friends there, have great conversations, but you can also potentially meet someone that there's a spark with. And yeah, as you meet someone and as you start to date, and you actually like second date, third date, fourth date, and things are looking good, that can be a danger zone as well for people, because a lot of us, especially those who grew up under the influence of porn, we're not very good at relationships because we've never been perhaps in a relationship, or in a relationship without the influence of pornography affecting how we view sexuality and romance and relationships. So in that time, be mindful of the energy that you're bringing to that relationship, and be open and honest with whoever you're starting to date. And if you do those two things, you're still going to make lots of mistakes, but you're going to be able to learn from them together and grow together. And I do encourage you definitely to be very honest with yourself and reflective about why you want to date. Are you just looking for a sexual outlet? Or what kind of person do you really want to build something with? What are you looking for? If you're just looking for sexual opportunity, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but as you're coming off of a sexually compulsive behavior like porn use and masturbation has become for so many of us, then you can just be moving that compulsion to using real people. And that can be a dangerous thing, a dangerous cycle to get into. Porn has thoroughly corrupted me over many years of use beginning in childhood. Can my mind ever recover after being made this corrupt? Or maybe you're referring to the escalation that you might have seen in yourself throughout years of porn use, the content that you escalated to becoming more and more extreme or disturbing over time. I can certainly relate to that, as can so many of us, I'm sure, in this stream right now. And you're never going to know who you would be if you had never viewed pornography in the first place, if you had never had those experiences. You're never going to be that person, but that's okay. You absolutely can leave behind a lot of that baggage that you've collected throughout your porn use over the years. And I've seen so many people get back to a sense of their own sexualities that feels more natural to them and feels more internally generated rather than something that's been conditioned into them over years of porn use and escalation. You won't ever have those images completely disappear from your head, probably. And it might be that they lose their appeal to you over time as you leave porn behind and rewire and experience real life relationships and intimacy and sex. Or it might be that they always have some appeal for you. I can go either way. I've seen it happen both ways. But it doesn't have to control you. It doesn't have to dominate your sexual desires. And it doesn't have to define who you are. So don't give up hope. There's so much to be gained throughout this process. I've seen, and I don't know how old you are or, the severity of your use over the years, but trust me, I've seen, I'd bet anything that I've seen more extreme cases than yours, even though I don't know much about your case. And I've seen people who have been using for the vast majority of their lives, decades and decades, and who have plumbed the depths of pornography and sexual compulsion. And I've seen those people turn themselves around and explore a new side of life, a new side of themselves as they close that chapter and move into the next and gain so much benefit from that and are so grateful that they found this information and made that choice for themselves, even if it might have been late in life, 50 years old, 60 years old. And I'm willing to bet you're probably younger than that. And you can have so many years ahead of you to enjoy life without, as you put it, this corrupting influence in your life and in your mind. Thank you for taking the time to do these lives. They help so much. I'm glad to hear it. Glad to be here with you all. And no plans to stop. So I'll be here every month. Today is my 100th day in a hard mode reboot. I have started to notice that I feel new energies while I'm around attractive women. Energies I don't have before. I guess it's called attraction. Yeah, you forgot what that felt like, didn't you? Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to start feeling that energy when you're just around someone that you feel a connection with or an attraction to, when you haven't felt that in a long time because of your desensitization for the computer screen. And that's a beautiful thing. And it's, some of you were asking about sexual outlet and how to find a sexual outlet when you don't have pornography or masturbation in your life anymore and you're not in a relationship. That's a question that I get a lot. And part of my answer is that it doesn't require an orgasm to have some sexual outlet. Even just being around people you're attracted to and having some eye contact, making someone laugh that you're attracted to, being playful, flirting, those are all forms of sexual outlet. And you can engage with your sexual energy in that way. It doesn't require direct stimulation of your penis or an orgasm, and that can actually be much more satisfying of an experience than masturbating to pornography and having an orgasm. It can leave you feeling flushed and energetic and happy and glowing, and in a way that's much more satisfying and real than an orgasm to a screen. Not to say that that's the end all be all, that you're never going to have an orgasm again or build a real sexual relationship, but it's not just about the sex, it's about those experiences of, just innocent flirtation and connection and attraction that can be really great. Hey, Noah, I have a question. How can I stay on track when I don't have any motivation to do Nofap? Or does Nofap increase women attraction even if you have PIED? So the sense that I'm getting from your question is that maybe you don't have a strong motivation to continue because maybe you're not in a relationship or you don't have dating opportunity or sexual opportunity. So you're like, well, what's the point? I see guys have that attitude a lot. And when they perhaps are dating someone or, there's a possibility in their lives, then they can be porn free. So all of a sudden they have willpower and they can be porn free and it's not that big of a deal for them. But as soon as that, they mess it up with them or it doesn't work out, they relapse and they start using porn again. And that's a dangerous cycle because you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for when that opportunity does come, you're not going to be ready for it. You're not going to be ready to enjoy it, to appreciate it, to be able to pursue it because you've been using porn. And yeah, real life, there's no guarantees of sex or of dating or of a relationship. That's the illusion that is very powerful in pornography. It allows us complete control over the experience. So it feels like it's safe and it's secure and it's reliable and it can never reject us, maybe unless the internet drops out or something. But for the most part, we can have control over that experience or seem to have control even as we're losing it. But real life doesn't work like that. You don't know that even if you go on a date, you don't know how it's going to work out. You don't know if you're going to like each other. You don't know if you're going to kiss or end up in bed together. That's what life is. It's doing the best we can with the knowledge that we have and going forward and taking risks and doing it because we have some hope. We have some faith that things can be better than as they are right now. And we feel that it's worth it to put in the work, to give ourselves that chance at something that we haven't experienced yet, that we see value in. There's no guarantees, no, but it's worth it. So I think you need to ask yourself some hard questions about where this lack of motivation is coming from and what you'd really like to see for yourself and what you really like to pursue in your life. There's no guarantees you're going to get it, but there's a guarantee that you're going to fail if you don't even try. That's the only guarantee that life will give us. How long, Noah, are you away from this PMO? Yeah, I went through, of course, my own period of relapses even after I had written my book, that was mentioned earlier. I wrote that book in the first 5 months of my journey, and I relapsed for the first time about 8 months into my journey, I think it was, maybe 9 months. And then for about a year after that, off and on, struggling. Not like I was constantly using, but I was struggling to maintain my sobriety and relearning what I needed to know in order to maintain consistency in my porn-free life, and realizing that I had underestimated the strength of my own addiction, my own compulsions. So that was late 2015, I believe, when that year of struggle came to an end. So six years, right? Hey, Noah, I have a question. Oh, no, that was something answered already. Well, the second half of your question, does Nofap increase women attraction even if you have PIED? Yes and no. It's not a magic bullet. For some people who describe the experience, it can seem that way. Like, oh, I feel like I haven't done anything different and I look like a slob, but I'm getting more attention from women. But it's partly, I think, just a change in energy that maybe you don't even notice. But partly, too, it's that we're a lot more attractive when we're present in our lives, when we're engaged with our lives, when we're working on ourselves, and when we're pushing into growth and into our future, and we're focused on living our lives to the best of our ability. And people can see that. People, we're walking around this world and we think that our inner worlds are hidden from everyone else. But people can tell a lot more about what's going on inside of you than you probably think. Even from just one glance at you, people can tell so much. And that can be scary for a lot of us, and especially in the tech generation. People are scared of that. Maybe they prefer interacting with others through a screen because they don't want to feel naked and exposed. They don't want to feel seen because they don't like what's inside of themselves. They don't want that to be seen by other people. But when you develop yourself to the point where you don't mind being seen because you like yourself, you like what's going on in your life, and you're putting yourself out there in the world, people can see that. Women can see that, and that's an attractive quality. Why does the flatline occur? That's something that I don't think is fully understood yet and is properly studied yet. My best knowledge, based on all the people that I've worked with who have experienced flatlines, is that it's our bodies and our brains' way of shutting down our sexual reward system because it's been overstimulated and abused for quite a long time in order to heal and restore that system. And that the flatline coming to an end and our feeling that libido and sexual energy come back is our bodies and brains way of saying, okay, we're ready to start exploring this again, but don't abuse us again. Don't go back to the way things were, or you'll probably restore all that desensitization and have to experience another flatline. And yeah, I don't think flatlines are a bad thing at all. I think a lot of people see them as something to be avoided or something to be scared of, but I say it's a great sign. If you're in a flatline, a true flatline, that's a powerful experience, a complete lack of your sexuality. And yeah, that's not what you want for the end goal, but it is a sign that things are changing. It's a sign that what you're doing is causing changes in your body and brain. And that's what you want in this journey if you're recovering from porn-induced sexual dysfunction. Sir, sometimes I get a wet dream. Is that a relapse? I don't like answering these "is this a relapse" question because it's different for everybody, but I can feel pretty confident in saying that no, wet dreams are not a relapse because that's not something that you necessarily have control over. You might be able to realize that you're dreaming and wake yourself up before you ejaculate, but for the most part, it's not something you have control over. No, relapse is what happens when you make the choice to do something that returns you to a former state that you've been trying to get away from, that you've been trying to change. So, no, involuntary wet dream is not a relapse. But as far as what is a relapse, that is different for different people. For some people, just maybe masturbating without a screen might be a relapse because they're a compulsive masturbator and they're trying to not do that anymore. But for other people, that might be a healthy part of their journey and they're just trying to stop their porn use, but porn-free masturbation is fine for them. So it depends on your goals, what relapse is for you. How can I go on hard mode when I have a girlfriend? If that somehow sets me back when trying to get out from this flatline. I mean, it's really hard to go with no sexual stimulation. Okay, so this was the flatline question that was asked earlier. And I said, whatever you're doing, if you're looking to tweak things, go in the opposite direction. So if you're having orgasms and having sexual intercourse or interaction while you're in a flatline, one thing you can do is stop that and go hard mode. And yeah, it's called hard mode for a reason. You say it's really hard to go with no sexual stimulation, but if you're in a flatline and you're trying to see more progress and you're trying to push yourself in a different direction so that you can see some improvement that you maybe haven't been seeing over the past 11 months, then even if it's hard, that's what's required. And it doesn't mean no sexual interaction at all, perhaps, but it maybe means no direct stimulation of your genitals and no orgasm for you, but maybe you can still bring pleasure to your girlfriend, still enjoy each other in other ways, but just avoid sexual stimulation of your penis and ejaculation and orgasm unless you feel strongly aroused. If you're feeling the strength of your libido and you're feeling strongly aroused in the way that you want, then great. Maybe you're not in a flatline anymore and you can start to enjoy that. But if you're not, if your body's not saying yes, this is what we want, if it feels like you have to kind of force that, then I do recommend avoiding it and giving yourself time in order to recover and get out of that flatline naturally. I'm 10 days away from reaching 10 months without porn, says Alan. Good job, man. I hope you've experienced the benefits that you've been looking for and continue on strong. I started to have sex, but I'm having issues with the chaser effect. Too much anxiety. I'm not sure what you mean by that too much anxiety comment. Maybe you can clarify. But yeah, chaser effect is something to watch out for when you're starting to have sex after a reboot. And that chaser effect means in the following days after your first sexual stimulation or orgasm in a while, your libido might be at a higher setting. And that's something to be mindful about. And you can enjoy that, if you're with your partner and continuing to have sex. But if you're not any longer with that person that you had sex with, or you're feeling a lot more urges for pornography, that's a common experience because that's still probably what you're most wired to at this stage in your journey. And so when your sexuality is ramped up to a higher setting, that might be the first thing that you think of, and the content of your fantasies might be more about pornography. And that's something to be mindful of, something to protect yourself against. And there are things that you can do to help yourself when you have those urges. You can set it up so that you're protected on your devices beforehand. Something I recommend often for people is to set up those protections of having blockers and accountability software on your devices so that you can't just instantly access pornography on your devices. And if you do, it won't be in secret, and you know there will be consequences, and you'll have to talk to your accountability partners about that. So that's one thing that you can do to protect yourself from that chaser effect. There's a lot more that we could talk about there, but it's everything that I talk about is how to handle your sexuality and how to accept that sexual energy without just giving into your immediate impulses to expel it in a way that you've become accustomed to over the years. You can channel that energy in other ways, like we were talking about earlier, transcending that impulse to expel it. You can rely on the support of others, talk through it. If you're feeling these intense urges, these cravings, the chaser effect, talking it out and sharing that experience with others who are trusted friends or a support group like the one I mentioned before that I run. Link in the description below if you're interested in that. Then that can help as well. Having a busy schedule and just knowing, okay, the chaser effect is something that I experience. So after my date this weekend, when I'm probably going to have sex, I'm going to fill up my schedule for the next 3 days with a bunch of activities. I'm going to be outside. I'm going to be going on hikes. So you can plan for that. You can plan for that so that you're not just lying around in bed feeling that chaser effect. Due to PMO, I was not able to concentrate on my exams. I was feeling like shit, even though I had studied so much. Yeah, the consequences, they start to creep out into various aspects of our lives. And it's what started as just seemed like harmless pastime, very engaging, stimulating, fun, pleasurable experience can start to sap more and more of our mental energy as we get deeper and deeper into this. And that's something that, as you're recovering and as you're trying to be porn free and you relapse, you can be very sensitive to. And when you are having periods of abstinence, but then punctuated by relapses, those relapses can have a really big effect on you in many ways, including this concentration issue that you're talking about. And that's why, if someone is starting this journey, I like to work with them a lot in the beginning to allow them to build those skills that they're going to need in order to give themselves the best shot at just staying porn free from the inception of their journey. Because it's going to be a lot easier on them, and they're going to get to that new normal, that point where they feel just naturally porn free, and that's their new state of being. It's going to be a lot quicker and a lot easier of a transition if they go from regular user to successfully porn free, rather than having an interim of months or years where they're going through relapses. That's going to greatly elongate the process and make it a lot more difficult. Not to say that it's impossible if you've been stuck in that cycle, absolutely not. But if you're just at the beginning of this journey and you're like, oh, I might give this a go, but you're not fully committed to it yet, then I encourage you to do some more learning first and to really consider, yes, of course, you can try it for 30 days first and see how it goes. But if you're noticing that this is something that you don't have full control over and you are relapsing, then getting the right help and getting the right guidance as soon as possible before you get into that long form cycle of abstinence and relapse and binge, the better off you're going to be, because you don't want to be caught in that for a long time. And if you are, then it can actually make the actual recovery, once you do go fully porn free, a longer, more difficult, more arduous experience, because you've trained your brain to expect that porn is going to return even after a month of abstinence, even after 2 months of abstaining from it. And that's not an experience that I want for any of you. Sir, my biggest problem is I'm addicted to the step type of pornography. You know, a lot of pornography these days, it's escalated so much because the audience has become desensitized. Just like it happens on an individual level, you become desensitized to vanilla pornography or just pictures of sexually attractive people. You escalate. You seek that higher high. You seek that more extreme stimulation. That happens to individuals, but it happens also to the audience as a whole. And because it's happening to the audience as a whole, the producers have to rise to meet that demand. So they create more and more, extreme, more specific types of pornography. And one thing that, is a taboo that gives you that extra hit of like, oh, like this is novel or this is stimulating, or, it pairs that strong emotion of shock or like, this is bad with your sexual arousal, which is something that so many people start to need in order to get that sexual arousal high enough to enjoy, to have a strong erection and to get to an orgasm. So one of those things that they do is introducing incest or pseudo incest into pornography. You'll see this, I remember even when I was last using, that this was becoming more and more common, where you'd look at the front page of a streaming pornography website and it's like all these step siblings and like stepfather and stepdaughter are having these sexual interactions. And that's definitely a product of escalation. And you might be hooked on it now, but I doubt that that's something that's going to stick with you as you are able to become porn free and allow yourself the time and space away from porn to just resensitize and get back to your own innate sexual desires and sexual fantasies. You're not going to be needing, to pretend that the woman you're on a date with is your stepsister in order to get aroused. And if you do, then it's indicative that you need some more time in the reboot before trying to have sex. Alan says, this is the guy who is 10 days away from 10 months. Now I have close to zero desire to watch porn. It's become second nature at this point. Yes, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because so many people wonder, like, is it going to be this challenging for the rest of my life? And the answer is no. You get stronger, it becomes your new normal, and you become accustomed to a porn-free life. And for the most part, it becomes fairly easy. But you still have to maintain some vigilance and not get complacent, because it is also easy to invite that habit, that habitual use, that compulsion back into your life and open up that door again and slide right back down to the depths of your use. So dual nature of that is that, yes, it gets easier, but you can never just, close your eyes and give yourself up to, or like forget that this is a part of you, forget that compulsive nature, that addiction is inside of you. And if you start feeding it scraps, it'll quickly become strong again and can quickly get back to a point where, you fought so hard to get away from. So enjoy it once it becomes easy. Know, if you haven't gotten there yet, that it will get easier and it will become more natural to you. But never forget that this addiction, if you are addicted to porn, is a part of you and is in there somewhere. Don't get complacent. How many years were you in this shit, and how long have you left? So I started using when I was like 9 years old, 10 years old. I first quit when I was 24. I was like 26, I think, when I reached that end of that relapse cycle that I was telling you about, and I'm almost 32 now. Porn addiction is so true, and porn is everywhere, including Instagram. Yeah, Instagram can be a danger. And thank you for your advice about staying away from Instagram. Yeah, I have an Instagram, but I like curate my feed so I'm not seeing, a lot of the sexual imagery. My feed, I think, is a lot of cats, which I don't even look at. I just use it for messaging and for keeping in touch with friends. If you don't use social media intentionally, it will use you. So be intentional with your use of those things. I just messaged my close friends in my group chat that I had reached 100 days of no PMO, and they responded with a congrats and then sent me links to different porn sites. Yeah, friends, aren't always the most supportive, at least when they don't fully understand what you're going through. Some friends, your friends might just be joking around and be doing it in a good-hearted or good-natured way because maybe they don't understand that this really is serious and important for you. Or, they might be the type of people who, when they see someone bettering themselves, they have that instinct within them to drag that person down, to not let them get out of, whatever shit that they're mired in. Because if you do better yourself, it makes them have to turn a hard gaze inward and say like, oh, well, what am I doing? If my friend, is doing so much better now and he's like pushing himself and he's growing, like it makes them feel bad about themselves and they might not want that. I'm just writing here to thank you for everything you do for us. Thank you. Well, my pleasure, my friend. Yeah. I do not want people to have no access to answers or guidance, like was true for me when I was first searching for answers. Did you experience any periods of high levels of unproductivity during your report? Yeah, definitely. I did, and many people do experience times where they're just feeling flat and unmotivated, low energetically. And that's part of the roller coaster experience of recovery. And in those times, maybe I think the best thing to do is just to do your best, but be honest with yourself about what your best is. I mean, some days your best isn't going to be very impressive from the outside. Maybe your best is just, going for a walk outside and maybe calling your mom and having a talk and reading a book, and maybe that's your best for that day. It's just to take it easy and not force yourself to try to be productive when you're really not feeling it. But some days your best is going to be, hitting things, hitting your goals and hitting your projects and being creative and being productive. And your best is going to be really at a high level. But being kind to yourself and accepting, yeah, some days my best isn't going to mean, accomplishing all my goals and everything. And that's okay. But maybe your best is just doing some healthy self-care for that day or for that week. Coming up to the end of the hour, I know I have lots more questions I haven't answered yet. I'm going to try to get to a few more. But if I don't get to your question, just know that it wasn't because I don't like you. I just have limited time, and my voice only lasts for so long. But yeah, if you want to get more access to help and guidance, the cheapest way, and I think the best way to get started, is with that group that I told you about before, the Rebooter support and discussion group that I run through Patreon and Discord. Links down below. It's just $40 US for access to that group and those calls. We have 3 calls a week. Don't need to come to every call. Some people do, or come to most, but most people come to 1 call a week. So you can join that, have regular access both to me and to other people who are on similar journeys to your own. A place to check in, to talk, to get your questions answered, and to get some support. If you're looking for a more complete guide to how to recover from a porn-induced sexual dysfunction or porn addiction, then check out my courses that I've created on those topics. Links down below, I think. I hope they're in the description. I'll check to make sure after this stream is done. And if you check those out, you can find complete video courses that will take you step by step through every process, through every aspect of this recovery journey. And everything that I've learned in my own personal journey and everything that I've learned from working with hundreds of men is distilled into those courses. So if you are looking for the complete guide, that's where it is. It's right there. Good day, Sensei. Good day to you, Dave. All right. Noah, how do I stop using social media? I don't eat junk food, drink alcohol, but I have a problem with social media and Netflix. How to occupy my mind. I am desensitized and can't enjoy reading much. I have some of the same issues, man. Yeah, tech use, it's like important and it's powerful and it's how I do my business. It's how I create a lot of things that are worthwhile, but it can also be very distracting and be an unhealthy thing for me if I let myself get into that cycle of just seeking distraction on social media or watching Netflix or playing video games. One thing that I'm doing, as I mentioned before, is a tech fast for the month of October because I was noticing that I was starting to slip too much into that. So maybe take a fast for yourself. Just decide, okay, maybe a week or 10 days, a certain period of time, something that you can feel is manageable and you can get excited about, and set clear rules for yourself about what that fast means for you. And I would suggest maybe turning off your notifications for social media, maybe deactivating those apps on your phone for that time period so you're not getting buzzes and temptations and video updates from YouTube or things like that that are tempting you to break that fast. And during that time, you'll, part of it will be uncomfortable. You'll probably have that itch to just fill that silence or fill those empty moments with distraction from your phone, but that's okay. That's part of the process, and you'll discover new ways of filling that silence, filling that empty space. And I think, like me, you'll probably discover a greater sense of peace of mind and greater clarity of thought and creativity and productivity for yourself during that time. And it doesn't mean you have to extend that fast to last forever, but maybe after that fast is over, you can decide for yourself about some guidelines that are going to work best for you. And that's something that only you can decide. All right, looking for questions that have been different from what we've talked about before in this stream. Can you end with a reading from Gifts of Recovery, please? Absolutely. I always do. If you guys, if you all don't have the book Gifts of Recovery yet by Timothy Stein, I plug it all the time. I really love it. It's a daily reader, has just a little bit of wisdom for every single day of the year. So you can spend a couple minutes each day just reading that reading, and keeps you thinking and learning and growing on this journey. Noah, do you believe porn addiction treatment should be free and part of the NHS and Medicare? How are people expected to get the support they need at the prices that coaches and therapists charge? I think that as the research continues to come out and more people are becoming awake to the real health hazards of pornography use and pornography addiction and other behavioral addictions as well, that more and more that will become part of accepted medical care. And yeah, I think that I'm not going to get into politics, but I do believe that healthcare should be a right for people, and part of that is mental health care and helping people with addiction, and that includes drug addiction as well, rather than punishing addicts by sending them to prison where they can become more jaded and harmed and more entrenched in criminality and in addiction. Actually offering them a lifeline and support and help and a way to find what they're really looking for and get out of that trap of addiction, I think is incredibly important and should be something that everybody has access to if they need it. Because it's not like we're just giving people things for free and that's not going to benefit society. We want people in our societies to be healthy and to be happy, because then that's going to make society better for all of us. But yeah, as for being able to access help, there is help that you can access that is very affordable. One very affordable thing that you can access right now is the app Remojo, Remojo. As most of you know, I'm working with them. I create course content for them, and yes, it is still relatively new, and especially on iOS, it's not fully featured yet. It's best featured on Android right now. But it's a very powerful tool, and it has community support. It has courses, like I mentioned, a lot of a lot of the material that is going into it is not yet available. It will become available over the coming weeks and months, not just from me, but from other experts in the field. And it's going to be an incredible value. And it already is a very good value. And only for, depending on your country, about $5 US per month. So very affordable way to start getting yourself help. Okay, last question, because I can't ignore this one. Noah, what are your thoughts on the late, great Gary Wilson? Yeah, as most of you probably know, Gary Wilson died earlier this year, and he was a personal friend and an inspiration to me, and a great help to so many of us. And our awareness of this issue would not be anywhere near where it is today if not for him and his work, and the work of others as well. But he was really a catalyst in that field, and his website, yourbrainonporn.com, is still the go-to place for factual information and research about how pornography use affects the brain and affects people's sexuality and emotions and relationships. So, yeah, I mean, we're all gonna die, and I miss him. I miss him greatly, but he left a very positive impact on the world and on me personally. And in the end, that's the best we can hope for, right? Is to leave the world a better place than we found it, and to leave behind people who are living on and cherishing your memory and inspired by how you lived your life and what you taught. So, am I in contact with Gabe Deem? Yeah, still in contact with Gabe Deem for sure. Yeah, he runs Reboot Nation. Great community over there. Go check it out, rebootnation.org. Yeah, we're friends, and both were close with Gary. And yeah, so I'll end with gifts of recovery now. Thanks for being here, everybody. If I didn't answer your question, sorry. It wasn't because I was intentionally ignoring you. Come back next month, or join the support group, or access help in any of the other ways that you can find information about in the description below. For October 15th, our reading from Gifts of Recovery starts with a quote. I need others, for the path is winding, and I have a tendency to get lost. Why am I reading October 15th? It's the 16th. Okay. That was a great reading. I'm going to read them both. Screw it. Okay. For October 15th, let's keep going. It is important to open ourselves to the support and guidance of others. In times of struggle, isolating and hiding is usually the worst choice we can make. When we are scared, ashamed, angry, or hurt, we are often too close to the situation to see it clearly and really make sense of it. When we allow friends and loved ones to help us sort out the situation and create a plan to address it, the outcome is typically better. The trusted people in our lives help us to stay on a healthy and productive path. So just what I was talking about earlier, finding the right support in your life, allowing people to support you, can be incredibly helpful. Now for the real day's reading of October 16th, starts with, you are not circling the drain yet, but you are in the tub, which is a therapy metaphor. Relapse does not happen immediately. It happens over time, one action after another. These actions may be obvious and large, such as not watching sexually graphic R-rated movies, not porn or porn substitutes, or taking the scenic way to work, which is past the massage parlors, strip clubs, and sex worker haunts. These actions can be subtle and small, like skipping phone calls to program members, assuming our judgment is right regarding boundaries and not checking with others, or embracing entitlement about our situations and choices. If we are going to stay sober, we have to recognize when we are in the tub and make changes then. If we wait to make changes only when we notice we are circling the drain, it is too late. Course correction, just like space travel. If you just blast off going towards Mars or something, but you don't constantly course correct, you're going to end up thousands and thousands of miles away from your destination. You have to continually maintain mindfulness about the direction you're moving in and make little corrections. And as long as you are mindful, those corrections can stay very small and have a great impact on the destination that you're moving towards. But if you leave that and you're not course correcting for days or weeks, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm way off path. I have to do a lot of work now to get myself back on course. So if you maintain that mindfulness and be consistent about those course corrections, it makes things a lot easier. All right, my friends, have a wonderful day. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next month in November's stream. Have a wonderful PMO-free weekend, everybody. I never know if when I press the end stream button, if it ends it immediately because there's a bit of a delay and it will cut myself off, or if it will end the stream like after the last thing that I said. So I'm pressing it now.